Welcome everybody and thank you for coming. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about some of our real estate apps that we got going. So feel free to, this is pretty much all going to be on a smartphone. Tablets will look the same. So feel free to follow along if you guys would like to. So the two apps that people are probably familiar with or at least have heard of are HomeSpotter and HomeSnap. HomeSpotter on the screen there is upper left, HomeSnap's right in the middle.
Which one do you use most?
I use HomeSpotter the most, but I use both, and we're going to talk about that a little bit. So just a quick show of hands, who in here uses HomeSpotter? One, okay. How about HomeSnap?
I use HomeSnap.
One, two, okay, cool, no problem. We're going to go over kind of the differences and nuances, and again, I use both, so they both have some different features and can be used for different stuff. So, HomeSpotter, I'm going to get on into it here. So this is an app that you can, just like HomeSnap, you can share it with your sphere of influence, people that you meet, people can download. I was on Mercer Island there.
Download the app itself, right?
They can download the app, yeah, now
How do we share the app with them?
let's start there.
Perfect.
So you meet somebody new, they want to download your app. The benefits of downloading this app as opposed to somebody looking on their Redfin app or Zillow or something like that is that it's very easy for them to chat with you and flag properties that interest them. So instead of copying and pasting an address or an MLS number and texting it to you, and you can do it all from within the app, and you'll receive a notification just like a text message when somebody flags a property or wants to know more about a property. Go ahead.
So this app is sort of just like it's like Redfin combined with like instant messaging with your broker.
A little bit, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's the primary use of this as far as your clients is concerned is locating properties, or even if somebody's not actively searching for properties but they just want a tool where they drive by a property and they want to learn a bit about it, right?
I got you.
So they can pull it up on here. The benefit is, I'm just going to click on a random active listing in West Seattle. I apologize, on the screen you can't see what I'm clicking on, but you can get the picture.
I like this one way better than HomeSnap.
Yeah, so they're laid out similar but a little bit differently. You can click on the main photo there up at the top and it's going to bring up all the photos in the listing so that people can see it easily. And also as they scroll down, this is a realtor version of the app, which is what you guys will be seeing. So you can see the agent remarks here, the darker box there. Also the public remarks, which is what everybody else sees. Your clients, when they download this app, obviously they won't have any of that private information, but they can see all of the main points of the house. So here I get to see who the listing agent and co-listing agent are. But the benefit is when your client downloads this app and they're looking at a property, like for Matt's clients, for example, they'll scroll down a little bit and it'll say something like, you want to know more about this property? And it'll have Matt's face and it'll say, contact Matt, text Matt, right? So that your clients aren't going to be reaching out to the listing broker, they're going to be reaching out to you. So in terms of sharing, these three dots in the upper, or three lines in the upper left, we're going to click that, scroll down a little bit. Oh, sorry, go back. And those three, yeah. So you guys can see down at the bottom of that list, above app suggestions, it says share my app. So I'm going to click that. And share your branded app. So we can email this or post it online or send it in a text message. To my clients, I find that it's easiest to send it in a text message.
So is the whole app, it's not a property that I'm saying, hey, check this
Nope.
out.
Yeah.
It's the whole app so that when they search, they're looking at essentially my branded.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, so this will be the first step. So this is like day one stuff when you are first starting to work with a client, or for some of you new brokers, when you're first letting people know that you're in the business. Send them either this app or HomeSnap. so that whatever app they use to look at properties in the future, even if they're not thinking about buying right this second, they'll see your face and your info. Okay. So when I click on send it as a text message, I can enter a phone number up top where the cursor is, and then it has a default message that it's uploaded down here. This is John Wind with Berkshire Hathaway. Check out HomeSpotter. We can message about homes using the app. You can obviously customize this to say whatever you'd like it to. Great to meet you at the open house today. Here's a link to my app that'll let us chat about properties. And when you hit send, they will receive a text message that contains the link, and as soon as they click on that link from their smartphone, it'll take them to the App Store to download your branded app. Okay? We'll go into it a little bit in a few minutes, but HomeSnap is extremely similar in terms of sharing with your clients. So some of the main differences here, just trying to find my location, but some of the main differences, one of the main reasons I use HomeSpotter a little bit more often is a couple different reasons. So number one, if I'm looking at properties on my phone, we have these tabs in the middle. It says highlights, details, and neighborhood. So details is going to have kind of the full rundown. You can click see property details. Everything that's in the listing, tax information, owner information, lot size, all that good stuff. What kind of energy does it have, sewer, etc. Right? It does, and so that's one of the main reasons why when I'm doing some research, if I'm away from my computer and I want to look into a property a little bit deeper, HomeSpotter links you to the supplements. And supplements, for those of you guys who are new, it's additional forms uploaded with the listing. So oftentimes it's got some additional information, like the seller disclosure, for example. I'm going to click on that, and it's going to take us to the Form 17 for this property. So I can quickly read over this and see, oh, has there been any leaking? Are there any known defects on the property? So that this is a really quick way, all this handwritten stuff, I would want to read that, right?
This is really nice.
To be able to talk to your clients, and then that just makes it seem like, oh, my clients are hopefully saying, I sent John this property wanting to know more about it, and within 10 minutes he got back to me with all these different pieces of information on the property that I didn't know, and makes you look like an expert without having to go to your desktop and log in every time. HomeSnap does not have a link to the supplements. Okay, so HomeSnap does do some things that HomeSpotter doesn't do, but HomeSnap does not have links to the supplements. That's one of the main reasons why I like to use this. One of the other reasons when I'm in a property like this, I'm going to click on that neighborhood tab up at the top. And right underneath where it says map and directions, so HomeSpotter has something similar. I can click on this map and pull up the estimated lot lines. So this can be a good example.
This is HomeSnap, right?
This is still, no, I'm sorry, this is HomeSpotter.
Oh, this is HomeSpotter.
This is
on the
HomeSpotter.
estimated. Okay.
Yeah,
I was wondering about that.
HomeSpotter. So this is a good example. So when you're visiting a property, and this happens all the time, right? You'll be out seeing a few houses, and a client will say, oh, I just saw this one pop up on my phone. Do you have some time to go look at it? It's right down the street. And that's all good if you have time, but you haven't done any research on that property, right? So while you're physically there at the house, this person might say, well, geez, there's no fences on this property. Do you know where the lot lines are between these two houses? And so you can pull up the app here and see the estimated lot lines. So you can see that this is saying that that lot goes pretty close to that second house. Can you guys see what I'm talking about?
How did you get here from your HomeSpotter?
Yeah, sorry. So when I'm looking at properties, I'm just pulling up a random property. So I'll click on it.
Oh, you gotta click on a property first.
Yep. Yep, and then you see highlights, details, and neighborhood, those kind of the top tabs.
Yeah.
So I click on neighborhood, and then this map that's right below it.
Neighborhood
This
is
is really
where it
helpful
is, gotcha.
because
Yeah.
when I'm with a client, I tend to look up a lot of information on MLS
Uh-huh.
because I do want to see the supplements, or I do want to see, and questions come up, but this is like, has it all.
Yeah. Now do take these lot lines with a grain of salt. You know, these are estimated, so don't tell them for certain that a certain thing is or is not on their property. We will want to do more research to look that up. But where I found this really helpful is like a property that backs up to a green space, right? People want to know how far down does my property lines go. So you can kind of get an estimate, does it cut off right at the back fence there, or does it go down that gully a little ways? Does that make sense? Another nice thing about HomeSpotter is, again, under this neighborhood tab, we have that directions. You have directions, street view, and nearby. You also have a walk score there. I'm not sure if HomeSnap has that. Some clients are more interested in that than others. But this makes it incredibly easy to link directions to the property so that, again, I don't have to copy and paste from my phone a bunch of different stuff. So if I click on that directions button, it's going to offer me Google Maps, Waze, or Apple Maps. I use Google Maps or Waze. I don't ever use Apple Maps. So if I click that, it's going to jump me right into my Google Maps, and I can just hit start, and then we're off and running. The one thing that I will say about that, go ahead.
Do that one more time from that same.
Yeah. So again, we're in the neighborhood tab.
Yep.
I'm going to hit the directions button.
Got it. I'm sorry.
Yep, no problem.
Done.
So the one thing that I will say about this is that you can see at the top part of my screen there, it's taking me to like a latitude and longitude, not to a street address. So oftentimes if I'm doing this, I'll zoom in a little bit and make sure, like here, this is a good example. The driveway for this property is off of 47th, as you guys can see here. But it's going to take that right onto Dakota. So sometimes when I've done this, because it's not taking me to a physical street address, it's taking me to like a latitude and longitude. So sometimes it might take me to the back of a property or something like that. So you just want to zoom in really quickly before you start driving and make sure that it's taking you to somewhere where you can park and you can enter the property. Hey, Tay. All right. There's also Street View. You know, that's a handy tool that I tell a lot of clients to use when they've identified a property that they think they like. Go ahead and take a look at the Street View, because some people, especially if they're really they're really keyed in on the neighbors and on the condition of the neighborhood and stuff like that, they will like this because they can see a little bit more than just the marketing photos, right? Or the aerial view of the neighborhood. Yeah.
So the client sees highlights, details, neighborhood. They just don't see all of the details, or
They will be able to see all of these
details that are listed here.
most of them. I think it cuts off some, like it doesn't show days on market and stuff like that. Which I don't know why they do that, but it's lets us as realtors hold more of the keys, I think.
Fair enough. Yeah.
Jacob?
So anything that's public knowledge, like if somebody clicked on a listing on any site, Redfin, our app, if you send them a property through the MLS, anything that they can see on there, they will see on their app, on their version of the app.
Right.
But things like agent remarks,
Yeah.
owner information, I think, they may not see.
Cool.
Okay. Let's see what else on this one. So it's got some school information for the property as well. So it makes it really easy for people to see what school district it's in. That's again under the neighborhood tab. So when I'm doing research on a property, this is the app that I like to use. but HomeSnap has its own advantages. So we're going to go into that a little bit. Oh, real quick, down at the very bottom, we see the list, messages, and spot buttons. So messages is where those messages are going to pop up with clients who are sending you properties, and they want more information on it or something like that. This is what it'll look like. This person sent me this property and said, hey, we're interested in seeing this house. Can you set up a time for us to look? Thanks. And I can actually click on this picture, this link right here. It'll take me right to the property so that I can do all that research that we were just talking about.
And brokering, where does it say if it's vacant or what?
Oh, so just scroll down a little bit. And, sorry, here. So under lot square footage and stuff like that, occupant type, vacant, phone to show, zeros, so I know we can go see that right away.
And then down at the bottom it shows opens.
Yeah, it does have open houses as well. It has the history too of the house down here at the bottom of the highlights portion. HomeSnap has that as well. But with both of these apps, you guys can kind of play around with them to see, do you like one layout better than the other? You'll want to know how to navigate both of them probably. But once you get comfortable with a certain app, that's one of the reasons I also use HomeSpotter, is that it's a little bit older and I've had more experience with it. So I know right where to go find a specific piece of information. So if I don't have the listing with me and I haven't looked at it and we're walking through a house and someone says, oh, is this furnace electric or is it natural gas? Without going and hunting and finding the furnace, I can pull it up really quickly.
Quick question.
Yeah.
If you have somebody on like an auto email, that you're already sending listings to on a regular basis,
Yes.
and you want to send them this app, does it link any of those auto emails with the app, or is that still just through their normal email account? And if so, if when they click on the listing, when those auto emails come, it's still going to send them to the normal client MLS view.
Portal, yeah. Yeah, correct.
Is there any linking between the auto emails in this app? No, because that's MLS, this is HomeSpotter.
Correct,
Different.
yeah. So that's a great question. So for example, when you have somebody set up on an auto email and they see a property and they flag it by clicking that little heart saying, ooh, I really like this property, that will do nothing on these apps. Yeah, so it's completely separate, so that's a good point. If you have someone on an auto email, this app will not take place of watching over that auto email and making sure that you're staying on top of what they click that they're interested in, or if they want to.
This just kind of replaces like a Zillow or Redfin for them for just their casual searching.
Exactly.
And it makes it much easier when they do find that to just message us directly and have that link, and then we can.
Yep. Yeah. And it's not, once you're comfortable with it too, it's not that much work, and some people, it's whatever the clients are comfortable with as well.
Right.
Some people have exclusively only used this when searching for properties with me. Sometimes I'll set people up with this app and they won't ever use it, and it's just the properties that are emailed to them, or they'll still continue to just text and email me MLS numbers, right? Even though they have these tools. It's whatever they're comfortable with. I'm fine with all of it. Yeah, so good point there. Okay, so now let's go into HomeSnap a little bit. And you guys will see HomeSnap is very similar.
I get frustrated with HomeSnap, that's why I'm happy that we went with HomeSpotter, because I feel like it's more user-friendly.
Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, HomeSnap had the ability to maybe capture my business, so to speak, but things like the supplements, like to me that's huge. I want to be able to read the supplements without having to exit out of this app and go into another one, or worse, find my way to a desktop, or try to use the desktop site on my mobile device. That sucks too.
Which is what I've been doing with MLS, and it's
Okay.
to find that information, but
Right.
I wouldn't have to do that if I was using HomeSpotter.
Yeah, so that'll be a good tool for you. So when we are in HomeSnap, we have these buttons or tabs down at the bottom: news, messages, homes, agents, and me. So under the me, oh, I'm sorry, actually one more thing that I do want to go over in HomeSpotter. These three, kind of the settings, those three bars up at the upper left, I'm going to hit that. And you also have on this list here, my contacts, saved searches, and my carts. So my carts, for example, don't tell anybody my password.
You know, we all know.
So view contact carts. So if you have uploaded properties in your client's carts on the MLS, like when you're messing around on the desktop, you can get to them right from here. So that's
So that part's linked. That's cool.
yeah. So that part is linked. So
That's super cool.
that's a really nice feature
Yeah.
if you don't want to go into the map and have to zoom in and zoom out and search for an
Contacts
individual
are
property.
here.
Right. Yeah. Okay, back into HomeSnap.
Launch Matrix. Oh wow, you can even launch the full matrix.
Yeah. Now I haven't done much of that.
I think it says transaction desk, which is.
Well, yeah, because it's the desktop version. You can just launch it. So, are you still in the app then?
When you
Let me see,
hit
hang
that,
on. Yeah. No, you are.
yeah, you're still in the app.
Cool. Wow, I didn't realize they could do that. That's cool.
So, yeah, and I think that there are ways to do things. You know, if you do need to get into transaction desk and stuff like that, I think that you can.
So, this app, is it a Berkshire Hathaway app, or is Berkshire Hathaway just using this app as a company?
Talking about HomeSpotter,
Yes.
my understanding is it's an app for all real estate companies, but they provide branded apps for all of the agents.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
What about HomeSnap? Is
Same
that the
thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And they're separate. These are two separate.
Two completely separate apps.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So again, HomeSpotter, upper left there. HomeSnap is right in the middle. I'm going to click on HomeSnap.
I just found the mortgage calculator in there as well.
Oh,
I
there you
keep-
go.
I keep going to the internet and, clicking on ads that make me do all this craziness. That's
Right.
Nice. That's nice to know.
Yeah, and we're going to touch on some of that stuff as well.
Okay, sorry.
No problem. Good find though. And again, mess around with them because there's a lot of tools in both of these apps that I don't use. So I probably won't be hitting them today, but if anybody has had some experience using some different things, definitely let me know and we can chat about it here. So, under the Pro, hang on one second. I'm trying to recall where, oh, there it is. Okay, so under the Me tab, which we are right now, you see this little icon in the left towards the middle. It says Invite. I'm going to click on that. And this is where you can enter an email address or a phone number to, again, invite your clients. Right there. Yes. So to share that. One thing that HomeSnap does do that HomeSpotter does not do is once you have sent HomeSnap, your version of HomeSnap, to a client and they download it, no other agent can send them, they can try, but they won't be able to download HomeSnap and have it be a different agent. So some of you might remember this from when they first rolled it out, but HomeSpotter, if I send a client my HomeSpotter app, they look at it for a while, we lose touch, whatever, years later, if another agent wanted to send them their version of HomeSpotter, then they could download it and everything would now be branded with that new agent's information, okay? HomeSnap is not that way. HomeSnap, the first agent to send HomeSnap to a client is the one who kind of locks them down, so to speak.
What if they
So-
were to delete that?
My understanding is they would either need, an agent would need to either send it to a different email or a different phone number. Because even if they delete the app and try to re-download it, I think that it would still be your information. But you know, most people do have multiple email addresses where you could probably find a workaround, but it's still good that, you know, HomeSnap is trying to make it so that if your clients download the app, they will forever have your HomeSpotter, as long as HomeSnap, as long as they're going to use it. So under Homes, let's click on a random one. By the way, these purple ones I believe are open houses. So it's active properties that are open. But do check the dates and stuff like that. You know, this one's open Thursday, this one's open Saturday, so it doesn't mean that they're open houses today. So if I click on a house, same thing, if I click on that main photo, I'm going to pull up all these other photos here on the listing. If I scroll down a little bit, this is another feature that HomeSnap provides, is like the safe showing feature. So that is where you will upload an emergency contact, and if you're going out to see some properties, or a property, let's say with a stranger for the first time, that he either called you or you met him at an open house, you can set that up to where, okay, we're going to see 2 properties. So if I don't turn off my safety timer within, I don't know, 2 hours, 3 hours, however long you think it's going to take to see those 2 properties, this app will automatically contact your emergency notification, or your emergency contact, excuse me, and it'll say something like, hey, John was out showing and he forgot, or he has not turned off his safety timer, so please give him a call, make sure everything's okay, right? Just another safety feature, and you know, you guys probably know this, but you always want to, if you're going out and meeting somebody, especially for the first time, do tell somebody where you're going and who you're going to be with. You know, I've heard of agents who have a client meet them at the office and they photocopy their driver's license, you know, just to be safe and make sure that, you know, they're not putting themselves in danger. Tay and Russ probably have some more ideas on that stuff too, if you guys are interested. So scrolling down a little bit, we also have a rapid CMA feature. That's something that HomeSnap has that HomeSpotter does not have. I haven't done a lot with that, but I know Tay talks about it often. It's a quick way to pull up kind of a rough estimate of a CMA for somebody or for a specific house.
Does it do it automatically? Do you have to like?
I think you select the property, and I think it auto selects some comps based on like area, square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, probably.
And are you able to edit it after that?
I think you can select like, do use that, don't use that one type of thing. But the whole idea with this is that it's not,
Yeah.
you know, you give this to a client or send this to a client, and it takes you no time at all hardly. And you say something like, if this is a rough estimate, if you'd like a more in-depth analysis, let me know and I'll do the full CMA on your property and, you know, give you a closer estimate. Here we have the history on this listing. So we can see they've had a couple price drops, sold back in 2005. Tried to sell it in 2009 and then took it off. Both of these apps, you can message the listing agents right from the app, so you don't have to go look up their information. Like I've had, if there's a safety issue in the house or something like that, and you know have to let them know quickly, this is a good way to do that. Listing summary, confidential data, that's where you'll find the broker remarks. Local schools, commute time. There's another feature. So if a client sets up their work address, then I think this app will give them a rough estimate of how far or how long it will be to commute to that, or from that property to their work. Property lines, very similar feature to what I was just talking about, where you can get a rough estimate of the property lines of any property. And another thing that HomeSnap does is similar to Zestimates. For every house, whether it's listed or not, it kind of has an automated value. So this can be a little bit handy if you want to know if a property is severely overpriced or something like that. You can look and see what's an estimated value on some of the neighbors' houses. You can also click on these. Even though this house isn't listed, I can click on it and we'll see how much info it has. So it does pull some information, right? Beds, baths, only one photo, which is the street view. You can see this one sold back in 2005. So that's a feature that HomeSpotter does not have. If you wanted to look up, or if you're chatting with somebody and they say, oh yeah, my neighbor's house right there just sold for $800, and you think that sounds a little bit odd, you can pull that house up on this app very quickly and at least see what it sold for when. You can walk the property lines. That's a tool where it'll kind of walk you through step by step where the property lines are. Again, you want to take that with a grain of salt. Just make sure that people aren't using that as the word and I don't have to do any other research, right? They'll want to do some more research if they're really concerned about where the exact property lines are. Has some similar listings here. And again, these are auto-generated. So if somebody wanted to, they're looking at a property.
I like that this one always shows me how far away that property is from where, like, that's helpful sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, it'll say it's 300 yards or
Right.
it's a point by
Yeah, half a mile away. Yeah. And it also has some recent sales. So you can click on these and get information on any of these houses. Right? So, using these two apps in tandem can be a good way. You would want to familiarize yourself, in my opinion, with both, because they both have some features that the other does not have, to where you can get kind of a more well-rounded picture of properties, or when you're doing property research. One of the reasons why I bring my laptop everywhere with me is because I don't want to do too much. I don't want to spend hours and hours on my smartphone doing property research. I'd rather do that on my laptop. But these apps do provide you with a platform where you could, in theory, get a lot of the same information by staying on your phone if you didn't have access to a desktop. So, there's a couple other things in HomeSnap that I want to touch on. So when I click on Pro down there at the bottom, it takes me to this page. One thing that I have found useful is HomeSnap has an agreement with like Google, as does everybody, but also Waze, the navigation app. So what you can do is you can purchase a Waze ad, and you can select your budget, similar to like Facebook boosting. I had a listing last month, and I spent $100 of my own money to market this listing on Waze. Okay. And the reason I did that is $100 to me, it was, the price point of the house was enough to warrant that kind of extra money, in my opinion. And it provided me with another way to look like an expert to my sellers, and to another tool to completely shut down the conversation of, well, if my house doesn't sell quickly, I think more people just need to see it. I think it needs more exposure.
So this is really interesting because, like, my High Point listing, it's really quiet, and I'm trying to find ways to.
We're going to go over that a little bit right now. So what I did was I set my budget for $100, and so what happens when somebody is in Waze, bear with me, I'm going to go into my Waze app really quickly. And when people are See, here's a couple ads that are popping up right now. If I zoom back in. So here's one for sale. Off of California, it looks like. And again, I'm in the Waze app. I'm not in one of the real estate apps. So people can click on this. Waze doesn't know that I'm a realtor. It just thinks that I'm a normal person. But this is for sale for $550, listed by Darren with Remax. I have an option to drive there. I can like that. I can click on this little eye that gives me some more information on it.
How long is that ad? Is it for a month or is it?
It's for a number of views or until the property closes. And obviously, depending on your budget, it's going to be exposed to more people. But the reason why this is cool is, I don't know if you guys have seen this, anybody who uses Waze, but if you're driving in navigation somewhere and you have your smartphone on your dash or something like that, when you're stopped at a red light, it will sometimes bring up ads, because the Waze app knows you're no longer moving, you're stopped at a red light, and it'll say something like, oh, do you need new tires? Les Schwab Tires is, 0.1 miles this way. Do you want to drive there? So it will do the same thing with your listing. So when somebody's driving near your listing, it will say, hey, there's this house for sale half a mile away, this price, listed by John Wind. Do you want to drive there? And what'll happen is I can go into my HomeSnap app. I clicked on agents, and I clicked on my dashboard, or I clicked on Pro, sorry, down there at the bottom, and then my dashboard. And this down here with the sunset photo is my ad. So I click on that, and it gives me a report. You also have Facebook, Instagram, and Google. I didn't do any of those. I just wanted to do Waze. Because first of all, not every listing broker is doing this, so it's something new and something to set yourself aside. A lot of clients, depending on their age, might not have even heard of Waze, and they don't understand, why people use it. If you guys are unfamiliar with it, it's supposed to get you there a little bit faster. It has really active real-time traffic on the freeways. It tells you where speed traps are and where the police are hiding and all that kind of stuff too. But so I'm going to click View Report on this Waze tab where it says 27% complete. So I shared this with my sellers every week-ish, 5 days to a week. So I can say on Waze, now take this with a grain of salt because not everybody is focusing on it, but 16,000 people have been exposed to it on Waze, which probably just means they were looking at a map and the ad was just there. It's not like they noticed it or anything like that. But it's had 105 clicks. Only one person navigated to it, but 17 people had actions on it. So maybe they wanted more information or they liked it or something like that.
Or save.
Does it show all the?
Or save.
Is it your, once they take an action, like they want to see more, does it show all the pictures and all that good stuff? It throws down into the details.
I don't think, let me see.
I think that's pretty cool.
You threw $100 at it, you're a quarter of the way through, you have 100 clicks.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty healthy.
And what I do, I think it's something like, to Lisa's point, I'm trying to see where they can click on it and get more.
Or does it really steer them to you so that you can?
It's really, I'm not positive on that, but the reason I use it is so that I can literally say that, it's been exposed to 16,000 people on Waze alone. It's had 105 clicks, 1 navigation, 17 actions on it. And then what I also do is I go to Zillow. And if you guys don't go to Zillow as soon as you go live with a listing and claim that as your listing. And on another day we'll go in on how to do that. It's really easy. But then you can see the data, the viewing data on Zillow. So I can say, in the last 5 days, 400 people have seen it on Zillow. And then I go to Redfin as well, .com. And I scroll down and you can see how many people have viewed it, how many people have saved it, how many people have scheduled tours.
So can I claim it as my listing on Redfin as well?
Not on Redfin,
Just
no,
Zillow.
but on Zillow. And the benefit of doing that on Zillow is you get the reports that Zillow
So cool.
will show you how many people are viewing it, but also when anybody is anybody is viewing the listing on Zillow.com, instead of there being a Zillow Premier agent as the top spot of who to contact for this property, it'll be you, your face, your name, so that, and some people do contact you through Zillow.
So is this like your advertising listing?
Yeah.
Is that where I would?
Yep, that's where you do it. So, really quickly, Lisa was just talking about how would I do that. If you click Pro, on the bottom again, advertise a listing, start a new campaign, or edit a live ad. You can do this for active properties, but also for sold properties. If you guys just want to throw a little bit of money down and have a little bit more exposure for a recently sold listing.
It pulled it up, like automatically.
Your listing?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's probably it's linked to your lag number.
So,
But so when I and Redfin, you guys know most people are very familiar with Redfin, and so Redfin, like if Zillow has 500 views on my listing, Redfin will have like 6,000. You know, so when you keep your clients up to date on that kind of stuff, now you can't come back if your property hasn't sold in 3 weeks. You can't come back and say, well, John, I think you need to do more to market. You know, I don't think people have seen it enough. Like, no, that's not, you know, we've been keeping on track of online visibility is huge. You know, that's where, I don't know, 96% of their buyers, that's where they initially find their property that they buy. And so, you know, the photos look good. We've had great exposure. Here's what our open house traffic has been. Here's some of the common threads of the feedback that people have said at open houses. We've had this many agent showings, and here's our online visibility, right? Redfin, Zillow, Waze. And I say, remember, Redfin, Zillow, and Waze are only 3 sources. There's a lot of other sources that people use, to view properties. So that's just a little chunk of the actual online activity that your listing is getting.
does Redfin get feedback as well, like as far as clicks and reviews and all that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It's
Yeah.
on there for
And so I just grab that and I put it into an email. I'm doing a little rundown email for them, so I'll give them all this information. But then that heads off that conversation of marketability and viewings to where, okay, it's got great exposure. We've had lots of people through the open houses and stuff like that, and it still isn't sold. What's probably the issue? Price, right? So that can help a lot with sellers who kind of don't want to go the route of a price reduction after it's been sitting for whatever the market deems as a long time. That can definitely help if you're heading that off in the beginning, because the time to have that conversation is not when you're talking about a price drop. You want to make sure to keep them updated on that beforehand so that you have that ammunition to say, well, remember, for the last 3 weeks I've been sending you this stuff and we've been having great exposure. So again, that's through HomeSnap. On both of the apps, so up here in HomeSnap, in this bar that says Genesee currently, up at the very top, that is where you see the filter button. I'm going to hit that filter button, and this is where you can whittle down your search a little bit if you want to. And obviously in the bar up here you can put an address, city, school, or zip code. I think you can do MLS numbers as well. I know in HomeSpotter you can do the same thing. I'm going to go back into HomeSpotter here. Sorry, I know we're jumping back and forth a little bit. But in the upper right hand corner, this is HomeSpotter, you see the filter and the search icon. I'm going to hit that. There's a bar right up here at the top where it says city, zip, address. This is where you can put in an MLS number. Another nice thing about HomeSpotter is that it saves some of your recent inputs so that you don't have to constantly keep putting in an MLS number or something like that. You can just click on one of these if you're looking for the same property. Set price, bedrooms, that kind of stuff. Any questions on those two apps for right now?
Very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of information here that we're going over, so get in there and play around with it, and I'm always here to help if you'd like to. A couple more apps. So just in terms of real estate apps, there's Mile IQ, which is that orange icon in the bottom right of my screen. This is an app that tracks your driving. I think for me to purchase the full version with unlimited drives, I don't remember, it was like $10 or something. I don't remember, but it was a relatively, when you think about what it does for you, it was a relatively small investment because it'll track your mileage. It'll track all of your drives, and you just tell it. It's really easy with a swipe. You tell it whether that drive was a personal drive or whether it was a business-related drive, for tax reasons. And you can just do it at the end of the day. That's what I do. Like if I'm laying down before I go to bed, I'll pull it up, and whatever drives I did that day, I just tell it real quick, was that personal or business. And also it remembers where you're driving in terms of auto classification. So it's asked me enough times whether driving from my house to this office, what is that? I say that's my commute. And so after I did that a few times, it said, would you like to auto classify this drive as your commute from here on out? And I said yes, so now it never asks me about that drive again. Right? It'll just auto classify it for me without me having to do a bunch. So it's something to look into in terms of just keeping track of your driving. Room Scan is, I think that was like a $2 or $3 app. This will let you create floor plans of your listings, and then you can just send yourself a PDF of this and upload it to your listing if you want floor plans. I know a lot of the photographers do that as well, but this is really easy. You just walk around the house and put your phone on a wall, and it'll draw floor plans for you.
That's crazy.
Yeah, if you guys have more questions on that, I'd be happy to kind of show you around that. David Knox training. So as Berkshire Hathaway agents, we all have a free account to that. Let me stress, do this before you start driving. Don't do it while you're driving. But I pull up this app, and I will find a video that I either think is interesting, or let's say I'm going to a listing appointment. I can pull up a video on some tips and tricks for listing appointments and just let it play. I plug it into my car speakers and just let it play. I don't watch it because I'm focused on the road, right? But you can listen to what they're talking about. So on the way to your listing appointment, you can kind of be like, oh, okay, yeah, I forgot about that. That's a good thing. And it can kind of get you in the zone, so to speak, and give you some last minute tips on how to be successful in a listing appointment, for example. This blue one here in the middle, Quicken Loans Calculator. I obviously don't like Quicken Loans, and I won't let my clients use it, but this is a great tool really quickly, like Matt was saying, to see like what your mortgage payment could be, based on whatever your down payment is and stuff like that. So you can just plug in different things here, for if your clients want a rough estimate. But obviously we know always have them talk to the lenders, because the lenders we're not lenders, so we can't give financial or mortgage advice. So for specifics, they really do need to talk to their loan officer, who can talk to them about monthly payments and down payments and all that good stuff. One tool that you guys may want to do is I have a Mark Deniston picture there, and when I click on that, it takes me right to his website, and I scroll down a little bit, and it has our current mortgage rates.
Oh, I didn't know we had
30-year fixed, 15-year fixed, right? Just so that if someone is really, really watching that, and again, you're out in the field, You can say, well, you know, talk to your loan officer about rates, but you know, here's kind of an estimate of what they are right now. And the way that you do that is when you're on any website, like markdenniston.com is this. When I hit this little box with the arrow down at the bottom, I'm going to scroll over on this toolbar here, and it says add to home screen. You guys see where I'm at there? So when you click that, you just have it called rates or Mark Denniston or whatever, and you hit add in the upper right. So now this is it right there, that last app that just downloaded onto my phone. So now whenever I hit that, it'll take me back to that page or that website. I've done the same thing. I don't need two of these. I've done the same thing with verifying a contractor. So this app on the second row down here, verify a contractor with the Washington State L&I. So a good habit is if you're recommending or if you found maybe a contractor for your client to use on Agent Exchange, and you want to make sure they still have active licensing and stuff like that, because you don't ever want to recommend a contractor who's not licensed or who's let their license expire. So search by name, enter in the business name or the person, and it will pull up if they have an active license or not. So where that is, that's if you Google Washington.
This one? I guess the verified.
Yep, that's it right there. Yeah, if you type into Google verify a contractor Washington, it'll take you to an L&I site. It's like lni.wa.gov/verify, but it'll take you there. And then you just do the exact same thing when you're at that website. This little box with the arrow down at the bottom, and then add to home screen, and it'll kind of create an app for you.
So helpful.
Yeah. So any questions on those? Nope. Okay. Well, thank you for coming today.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, John.
So
Yeah,
so
great stuff.
helpful.
Yeah.
I would like to ask, and maybe it'll be intuitive if I go to Red